Randy, when you were a player, did you get up against your former teams when you had to play them? Was that always part of the equation?
Yeah, I think it's always part of the equation. I don't think that your competitive juices ever really leave you if you're not motivated to play against the people that you worked for at one point or another. There's something wrong with you. Simple as that. It's not normal in sports if you don't feel that you owe them something.
Randy, I mean, Calgary's getting tons of praise for good reason as being this hard-working team with that type of culture. When you're looking at video of their game or watch some of their games, as a coach, what do you identify that speaks to that character or culture?
Well, what we try to do is we try to have a template that we create on taking the information that the video supplies us. And obviously you have to look at what teams are doing first on special teams. So you take a look at that, and then you take a look at their forecheck, you take a look at their neutral ice, you take a look at their defensive zone coverage. So there's a checklist that you go through. And when you look at the Calgary Flames, the energy is one thing that's front and center. They've got young guys that are playing at a very high level. Their work ethic, their forecheck is very noticeable. Their backside pressure, their D-men that are on the ice seem to have the mentality. They have the green light to join the rush. They do a lot of surfing at the offensive blue line. They've got 3 defensemen I think are in the top 15 in scoring for defensemen, being at Giordano, Brody, and Weidman. So then you throw Russell into the mix, and then they're very mobile, and they're an offensively talented group on the back end. So there's a lot to handle. But again, we're going to respect the Calgary Flames to what they've accomplished, and what they've accomplished so far is they've taken a little bit of the attitude with them against the world. Nobody really counted them to be where they are at, and they've earned it. And you can't take it away from them. They went out and earned it.
How powerful a force is that if you've got that kind of momentum within the dressing room and that sort of belief?
Again, I'm sure that they look at it. There's going to be peaks and valleys, and they'd like to ride the peaks as long as possible, like anybody else. But they're a good young hockey club, and they're playing that way. Simple as that.
Have you tried to use Dion differently this year than maybe in years past?
I think, again, when we're healthy, that is a lot easier to do, and I think we've made a conscious effort to try not to get the 25-minute plus nights in there. You know, I think that we've tried to spread around the power play minutes a little bit. I think when we're healthy, we've had, numerous times we haven't had to utilize them exclusively on the penalty killing. We've had other people that have taken and shared some of those minutes. So those are all the things that you try to get your minutes over the top on some players. But we know some nights he's going to play 25 plus minutes.
Does that mean, with Polak healthy, does that mean taking away some of those defensive zone starts?
Again, Polak's won, and I think Franson's emerged and has played a stronger defensive game. And with Robidas, that's the plan in the summer, and sometimes those plans get derailed when people get hurt.
Their best defenseman was undrafted. Some of the best.
Mark Giordano?
Yeah. Some of the best defensemen in the NHL, Subban, Weber, Keith, were all second-round picks. Why is it so difficult to track what a young defenseman's going to be?
Well, I can remember Mark Giordano. I sent a scout when I was working in the IHL by the name of Bruce Southern. Yeah. No, it's Lefty. I called him Lefty because he was a lefty. Yeah, he's about this big and that wide, whatever he is. And I sent him because he was in Quad Cities, and he was leading the league in scoring. And that was my first foray into the Mark Giordano story. And he came back and said, this guy's this guy's that. Next thing you know, he signed a contract. And he played in the minors, and he's obviously developed a lot since then. But he always had skill and he had ability. And it just seems, and that's why I always go to the 300 game mark or whatever, because defensemen do take a long time in some situations to mature to the level that's required to play in the NHL. How many times have we looked at players that have been moved on and went someplace and got the opportunity, and their career started to go in the positive direction versus where they were? So patience is one thing, but the NHL is not a patient place, because you guys don't make it that way.
I was
What?
What is Peter Holland continuing to prove to you?
Well, Holly, again, we always knew that he could provide offense at the levels that he's played at. I had some experience with Peter Holland in Anaheim, and I can remember the rookie camps and the evaluation camps that took place. He was always a guy that could provide offense. And he did that in junior hockey, and when he went to the American Hockey League, he also did it. But in our situation, when we had him here, we didn't think that he was going to get a power play role, and he conveyed to us that he thought that he could make a complement in the penalty killing, and his game has taken off, and his growth has been part of that has been his ability to go out and kill penalties, be more involved in the game. He can play up in your lineup, he can play down in your lineup, and he's become a dependable player for this period of time. And I always caution Holly, because we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We're at game 30 now, or so, and there's a lot more hockey to be played.
Is there a reason you pinpointed for the rising shot totals the last 4 or 5 games after cutting that down?
Well, I think what the last game specifically, once the game turned on the Corby and Holzer penalty, and from that point on, and I think there's some statistics that we hold internally that the game turned in Vancouver's favor, and we were kind of even at that point, and then we took a penalty that I don't question, and that was my criticism of the officials the other night, that I questioned whether there shouldn't have been an even up call there on that situation, but we received the game after that point.